worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing. And our hearts will sing. Oh, how praise you're the name above all names. Yes, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing. And our hearts will sing. Oh, how praise is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, sing how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. Yes, you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing. And our hearts will sing. Oh, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. Singing, oh, how great is Yahuwah. Sing with me, how great is Yahuwah. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is Yahuwah. The name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing. And our hearts will sing. Oh, how great is Yahuwah. above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing your praise. Here's our love, singing how great. Sing with me how great is our love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is our love. Sing with me how great is our love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is our love. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. How worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is love. You're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing how great is love. Sing with me how great, how great is our love. Sing with me how great is our love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is our love. Singing oh, how great, how great is our love. Sing with me. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great love. Singing, oh, how great, how great is love. Sing with me, how great is love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great love. Singing, oh, how great, how great. It's a love, sing with me how great. It's a love, oh sing how great, how great, how great, how great. Love, you're the name above all names. You're the name above all names. And you are worthy of our praise. And our hearts will sing, our hearts will sing. Oh, see how great, how great, how great is love. How great, how great is love. Sing with me how great is love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how great is love. Oh, how great, how great is God. Sing with me how great is love. Oh, see how great, how great, how great, how His people. At this time, let us turn our attention to the writings of Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 6 and 7, and then we're going to recite verse 8, and it is so. And it is so. All right, beginning at verse 6, and it reads, Be strong and of a great courage, for to this people shall you divide for an inheritance the land. You got it? All right. I'm going to give you a few more minutes. So, yeah. All right. All right. You got it? Who's the son of Nun? Joshua chapter 1. All right. Starting at verse 6. Be strong and of a great courage, for to this people shall you divide for an inheritance the land, which I swore to their fathers to give them. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah which Moshe my servant commanded you. Go. That is why we can't turn to the left nor to the right. We must remain committed and dedicated unto the Torah which Moshe commanded us to uphold and adhere to. Verse 8, as I've stated it to fit our time of confession, repeat with me. I will not let this scroll of the Torah.
I will not let this scroll of the Torah
depart out of my mouth.
Depart out of my mouth.
But I shall meditate therein.
But I shall meditate therein.
Yom and Layla.
Yom and Layla.
That I may observe to do.
That I shall make my way prosperous.
And then I shall act wisely.
And then I shall act wisely.
Look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor, you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Look at your other neighbor, tell your other neighbor, you shall act wisely. And you shall act wisely. Take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I am determined.
I am determined
to act wisely.
To act wisely.
Come on, I am determined.
I am determined
to act wisely.
To act wisely.
Come on, one more time. I am determined.
I am determined
to act wisely.
To act wisely.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right, let us have another song.
Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create in me a clean heart so that I may worship you. Create in me a clean heart and purify me. Create we have a clean heart, hands, and a clean lifestyle, that we may truly worship him, and that his worship and the worship that we offer him will be accepted. You got to understand, we are giving him a gift, and that gift must be accepted. How do we know it's accepted? When we follow that he has given unto us as a people. Once again, I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Belief congregation located in South Carolina. We're glad you are here with us in this commemoration and celebration during the time of our Sabbath rest. And it is so.
And it is so.
For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I know for some of you we have not been on for a minute, but trust and believe that we're still doing the things us to do, though we have not been in the forefront or on social media. We are still doing what the Abba has commanded us to do. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we have the classes are set up, broke up in two parts: praise and worship, and our affirmations and confessions. And then the second part we go into is a time that we dive deep into the writings of the Abba. So with this part, we're going to go into our affirmations, and then from our affirmation, our declaration, and then we're going to have another song, our final song, and then our final confession, and then we'll go right into the writings. Once again, I'm excited about what the Abba is saying unto us in these challenging times, and though they may be challenging, if we stick and stay and hold on to him, the author and finisher of our belief, the Abba Yahuwah, through his son Yahush al-Mashiach, and through the Ruach HaKodesh, then we will not be defeated. We will stand strong as a people that we are supposed to stand strong as. And so once again, I want to encourage you, keep your head up and keep your shoulders squared up, and stay strong in the instructions that he has given unto us as a people. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, now we're going to do our affirmations. I want you to repeat after me. I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to develop my Ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my Ruach.
of Yahuwah in my Ruach.
That life is
That life is
the Torah of Yasharal.
the Torah of Yasharal.
I purpose to walk
I purpose to walk
in the Torah of life.
in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's knowledge,
Yahuwah's knowledge
excuse me, is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's ahab
Yahuwah's Ahab
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching.
He is leading me.
He is leading.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am
The Ruach
the Ruach
HaKodesh
HaKodesh
of Yahuwah in me
of Yahuwah in me
is leading me.
is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in the Torah.
I walk in the Torah.
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
Al-Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we're going to have our declaration. Excuse me. Repeat with me, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach.
Al-Mashiach,
We subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
peace,
peace,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people,
Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite,
We unite
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight,
not to fight
not to fight
each other,
each other,
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have a song, please. Once again, welcome to the Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Bread Belief congregation in our Sabbath class, a time that we commemorate and celebrate. And at the same time of our celebration, we are learning how we are to conduct ourselves and how we are to govern ourselves in the presence of our Abba and in the presence. We are in crucial, trying times. I'm sure we have heard these things over and over again, but it's not just a saying now. We are experiencing it And we're seeing it, and not just seeing it, but we are experiencing it in our everyday lives. So it is important that we find ourselves holding on to the Abba's hand through Yahushua HaMashiach. It is important that we understand how we are to govern ourselves during these times. Very important that we understand how to govern ourselves. Why? Because it depends upon your life, not just your life, but the lives of those that are watching us. Don't you know and realize that people are watching us? They want to see if we're going to fold. We're going to carry that code of conduct. And that's what we're going to be talking about later on. At this time, we're going to have our final song. And after our final song, we're going to have our final confession. And then we're going to go right into the writings. It's very important, and I can't stress it enough. And sometimes it becomes, I won't say difficult, but it becomes challenging when you're trying to say a lot of things at one time to articulate what I want to convey to us as a people, especially in these times. And what I mean by that, it is a time that we must come together without hypocrisy. It is important that we come together without skepticism and without partiality, but that we come together truly in truth and in the ahab of the Abba, so that we as a people can truly understand the importance of how we are to govern our lives. There's a lot at stake in this time. There is a lot at stake. Don't believe the hype and the lies of many of those that don't understand the time that we're in. We're in a time of change, and this change is upon us whether you want to accept it or not. And if we're going to live and not just survive, it is important that we understand the code of conduct that we as a people are supposed to carry. It is important. Why is it important? Because it depends upon your life and the lives of those that may be watching you. Many times we don't realize how many people are watching us, because sometimes we be so engulfed and embarked upon our own situations and things that are going on around us. But as the people and the children of Yahshua, I encourage you, hold on, because it's not time. This is not the time nor the season. Neither will it ever become a time or a season that we, and it is so.
And it is so. Let everything that's breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has 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 breath, let everything Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise.
We're going to bow before our King and we're going to recite Tehillim 19 and 14 as we bow before him. We ask that you would all do the same wherever you may be. Repeat this with me. May the utterance of my mouth
And the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
Utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation and 14 and 14. And it is so.
and it is so.
You may be seated in his presence. Once again, we appreciate your time to celebrate and to commemorate with us in this our time of Sabbath class. We are excited about what the Abba is going to say to us. I want you to turn your attention to Devarim, which is Deuteronomy chapter 6. And while you're turning there, I want to read in your hearing the foundation in which we are building our, I don't want to say case, but building this time of class upon. And that is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. And it reads, and I'm going to be reading it out of this time, the Hebrew, the JPS Hebrew and English Tanakh. I have it in the Abrahamic Covenant, but I want to read it out of this verse. And it says, thus said Yahuwah, stand by the roads and consider, inquire about ancient paths, paths meaning plural, which is the road to happiness. Travel it and find tranquility for yourselves. And we're going to stop there. The importance of the of this class and the class that before, and as Abba Yahuwah would continue to give me the leadway and the authority to bring forth, the topic is sustainability. The subtopic is code of conduct. Once again, our main topic is sustainability, and our subtopic is code of conduct. In this season, the Abba has given me 4 areas after reading this book, Sustainability and the African American Farm, redirecting the commodities of freedom back to the Black community. It is important that we understand, number one, how to sustain ourselves, and then the code of conduct, which we're going to get into. The 4 areas, as the Abba would allow me to cover, the first area was 5: sustainability, farmland ownership, food sovereignty, independent medical care, and establishing communities. Why is this important for us at this time? Well, many of you, as myself, I'm sure, have been watching the news and just kind of watching the things that are taking place. These things are not just happening just to happen. These things are coming about because of the push. I told many of you some months ago in a main that the Abba gave me, or a post, that the push is on. Work smarter, not harder. It's important that we understand as a people that we're getting ready to be pushed in a way that we've never been pushed before. In the writings of Jeremiah, he says unto us, if you can't keep up with the footmen, how are you going to run with the horsemen? This is an hour and a time that we must learn how to sustain ourselves outside of a system that was created not to help us, but to destroy us. Now, many of us that are claiming to be Hebrew may disagree, because some of us have this theory and this way that, this system has been created to help us. It was never created to help us. It was created to provoke us back into the arms of our Abba. And this is important that we understand the purpose of this. And so it is important that we understand these things. Why is it important we understand these things? Because if you don't have any kind of understanding about what's taking place, you're going to be caught up and left up and taken by a storm or a whirlwind. So you must understand something. I see the storm. And because I see the storm, it is my responsibility to warn you, because there is a sword coming and it's already here. But you must understand that sword has not been unsheathed the way it's going to be. It's very important that we understand what are our codes of conduct. And in this code of conduct, how does it bring about sustainability? And from sustainability, understanding that ownership of farmland is what is going to take us in a place to where now we can have a place to where we can learn, educate our own children, have our own medical facilities. And see, when I say medical facilities, I'm not talking about building $2 and $3 million and $1 trillion buildings. See, because that's the mindset of European people. That's the mindset of people that are disconnected. I'm talking about where we have our herbalists in place, where we have our facilities that may be under the stars. You don't have a building because it's not in the building. People that work in that building that bring about a change. Are y'all following me?
John.
So it's important that we understand, once again, the topic is sustainability and the subtopic is code of conduct. Now, you might be wondering where I got these things from. One, I got it from this book that was written by my daughter, and it is a phenomenal book. And above all, we get it from the foundation is coming from the writings. The second one is a Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson. These are books, and once it comes up, I'll be able to put it on there for you. Excuse me. These are books. This one and this one. These are books, but this comes with a library that I encourage. And at the end of my class, I'm going to encourage you to go and purchase these books while they are available. Also, this book will also be and is made available for you to purchase. Why? Because it is important that you understand the time that we're in and what it's going to take to sustain us as a people, from our health to our economic, to us economically. If we don't understand the times that we are in, we are going to find ourselves being pushed. We'll put it up again. We're going to find ourselves once again being pushed out. Once again, the push is on. Work smarter, not harder. The foundation of what I'm talking about, sustainability and our code of conduct, lies within Jeremiah 6:16. And it reads, "Thus saith Yahuwah, stand by the roads and consider. Inquire about ancient paths." That's because our people had lost the original way. And he says, which is the road to happiness? That's a question. Travel it and find tranquility for yourselves. But you have to understand what our people said. But they said, we will not. But see, we are not that people. We are saying, yes, we will. We want that path. We want to know what brings happiness unto us. And first and foremost, what brings happiness unto the Abba. And that is our full cooperation and obedience to him. Without that, we cannot move. So what we want to do, we want to turn our attention to Deuteronomy chapter 26, and we're going to read 26 and 27. And if we can, we're going to get to part of chapter 28, which we read about the Baruch and the curses. Now, it's important for us to truly understand that in order for us to be the people of Abba Yahuwah, we must conduct ourselves in the way that he has called us to. If we do not do that, then what happens is we get caught up in a system, sometimes not by choice, but because of being forced to accept the ways that are placed there. Many of us could say, but I'll never be forced. If you want to live and you have a choice between that situation because you left the door closed, then guess what? You have no other choice. And so it is important that we understand what's taking place here. Now, once again, let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 26, and we're going to read. I'm going to have my readers here, and they're going to read 6 verses, say 7 verses, and we're going to cover those verses, excuse me, as we move forward. And it's 7. Once again, that's Deuteronomy chapter 26, verses 1 through 7.
And it shall be, when you have come into the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you for an inheritance, and possess it, and dwell in it, that you shall take of the first of all the fruit of the earth, which you shall bring of your land, that Yahuwah your power is about to give you, and shall put it in a basket, and shall go unto the place where Yahuwah your power shall choose to place his name there. And you shall go up to the Cohen that shall be in those days, and say to them, I profess this day unto Yahuwah your power that I have come into the country which Yahuwah swore unto our fathers to give us. And the Cohen shall take the basket out of your hand and set it down before the altar of Yahuwah your power. And you shall speak and say before Yahuwah your power, a wandering Armenian, ready to perish was my Abba. And he went down into Mitzrayim and sojourned there with a few, and became there a nation, great, mighty, and numerous in numbers. And the Mitzrayim evil entreated us and afflicted us and laid upon us hard bondage. And when we cried unto Yahuwah, power of our fathers, Yahuwah heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, if you once again, in chapter 26, Debirdum, which is Deuteronomy, if you are following along them, the code of conduct that they are supposed to have when they inherit and possess the land to dwell in. Many have argued, well, we're not there yet. Of course, we're not there yet. But there is still a code of conduct that while we are in this place, that we are supposed to have. Let no man deceive you and trick you and make you believe that that we are not supposed to conduct ourselves according to the writing until after, excuse me, the new Shemayim and the new Eretz. In other words, the new heaven and the new earth. It is important that we understand the code of conduct must begin now and filter over or be taught to our children's 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 children. As long as we're here, it must be taught and it must stand. We are the only people, listen to me well, that do not pass down certain things to our generations. Every other culture will do it. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, right. We're going to address that. We're going to have someone put it up there for you so that you can read it. So you can know what I'm talking about. Whole chapter. And then we're going to go into chapter 27, if time permits. Now, listen what he says in verse 6. And Mitzrayim evil entreated us and afflicted us hard bondage. And when we cried, somebody say, and when we cried,
And when we cried,
say it like you mean it. And when we cried out,
And when we cried out,
excuse me, unto Yahuwah our power, he heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. Why is this important for us to understand? Because until we unify, our voices will not be heard.
God,
Are y'all hearing me?
God,
I know that's a hard pill or a large pill for many of us to swallow because we believe that we're doing a lot of things on our own. Let me tell you something. It is his mercy that and his kindness and his long suffering that continues to allows us to move forward. But he is looking for us as a people to have our voices as one. Not many voices, but one voice. Why? Because we're tired of the affliction. We're tired of the evil and treatment of our people. Until that is done, guess what? We're going to have to go along with what's taking place.
God.
Because he looks at us as one whole man, not as a bunch of individuals. That's
God.
important for us to understand. Verse 7, and when we cried unto Yahuwah, power of our Abbas, Yahuwah heard our voice and looked on our affliction and our labor and our oppression. Why is this important? Because now you have to understand, as a people, we are unified.
God.
We understand affliction, and our affliction, or what is being done, afflicts us all, not just one person. In other words, when we see a melanated man that has been killed, even though that person may not be may not be a family member, we still feel it because that's still one of ours that has died. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
So until we all feel it, we're all going to still end up dealing with different situations. Are y'all hearing me?
God.
This is so important for us as a people because at this point we are so divided. If we're not fussing about who's supposed to be teaching, if we are not fussing about who is leading or teaching, then we are fussing about when we're supposed to keep the Sabbath. Then we're fussing about excuse me, who's in charge, who's not in charge, what we're supposed to eat, what we're not supposed to eat, when it has already been outlined in the writings. I was speaking to someone earlier today, and they were talking about the main enemy is sin. Let me tell y'all something. There is an issue when you have those that have not been called, appointed, or set aside to instruct. Now we have those that are not skilled and are novices, and they're trying to teach people, and they themselves don't know what in the world they're doing. Are y'all following me?
God.
So it's important that we understand. Please listen to me. Listen to what I am saying to you. It is important that we listen to instructions. Pushes on. Work smarter, not harder. Why? Because there's going to come a time, and that time is fastly upon us, that you're going to need to know what to do and how to do it. If you do not, you're going to suffer from it. You don't want to listen to anybody. I told the individual earlier today, the problem with us as a people, we have too many people trying to be teachers. We have too many people trying to lead when that is not their responsibility. So now Yahshua is in an uproar. If you notice, hives like bees, they only have one bee, but they have worker bees. If you notice with ants, they only have one queen, and then they have worker ants. In nature, in how the Abba has secured us and how he has or continues to build us as a people, he has those that he has in place to give instructions and directions. But when you have so many people, and especially the internet, which can be a friend or an enemy to those of us that are trying to promote the truth. Because now what happens is you got an open web where people can go and pull up anything. And just because a slew of people that are coming into truth, I heard one priest say that they want to be rappers instead of priests. And that is so true. You want to be a leader instead of a follower. And then you mature and he chooses you to be a leader instead of you choosing yourself based upon information that you've gotten. Now, understand something. Now, many people may not like what I'm about to say. Many people have gotten this information, but the Abba didn't tell you to get it.
Come.
And just because it's available doesn't make it right for you to have it. I know you ain't gonna like me for it, but it's the truth. If you read into the writings, you'll find that there were the priests and there were the officers that had the right to handle the instructions. Everybody was not given that ability because it was not for everybody. And so now to understand how it was or how they were able to be of one voice is because they were being taught the same thing. You didn't have teachings over here and teachings over there. Everything that was being said was the same thing from the qualified people that the Abba had chosen. So when it was affliction, understand everybody was afflicted, not 2 or 3 people. Everybody, because everybody suffered the same fate because they were all in the same place. Are y'all following me? Now listen what it says in verse 8. Let's read. Let's read 7 verses. My reader is going to read, and we're going to read 7 verses.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And Yahuwah brought us out of Mitzrayim with the strong hand and with the outstretched arm, and with great fear and with signs and wonders. And he brought us to this place, and has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Mm-hmm.
And now, see, I have brought the first fruits of the land which you, O Yahuwah, have given me. Then you shall place it before Yahuwah your power, and bow down before Yahuwah your power, and shall rejoice in all the tub which Yahuwah your power has given to you and your house, you and the Levite and the stranger who is among you. When you have completed tithing all the tithe of your increase in the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, and have given it to the Levite, to the stranger, to the fatherless, and to the widow, and they have eaten within your gates, and have been satisfied. Then you shall say for Yahuwah your power, I have put away the set apart portion from my house, and also have given it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all your commands which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commands, nor have I forgotten. I have not eaten any of it when in mourning, nor have I removed any of it from any unclean use, nor given any of it for the dead. I have obeyed the voice of Yahuwah my power. I have done according to all that you have commanded me.
And it is so. Now, let's look at this again. Why is this important? Because I want to show a code of conduct. I want to show you that we had a system that worked for us, and it can work again, even in the land that we are in, while we are waiting for our transition. See, this is where we as a people have to humble ourselves and understand that in order for us to truly grow, we've got to be in a position to grow according to his instructions. If you've ever noticed, weeds don't need anything but water and sunlight. Most of the time when you have plants that you have to tend to and take care of, we are the plants of the Abba. We got to be in a specific place for him to water us and to give us what we need. And that place is a place to where we're all together and we're learning from one voice. Are y'all following me? And when I say one voice, I mean one set of teachings and rules, and that is the Torah from the Abba. Because until we get to that place, we're going to be knowing bits and pieces of this, that, and the other, and we will be still all over the place. One thing about other cultures is no matter what, you find the Muslims, they will not listen to any other person except those that are skilled and qualified to teach them. If you listen to the Buddhists do not go and listen to any other person except those that have been chosen to speak on Buddhism. Are y'all hearing me? It's important that we understand that. Now listen to what he says. He says, you have declared to Yahuwah this day. Wait, let me go back. I'm sorry. Now from verse 8, it says, and brought us forth with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm and with great terribleness and with signs and with wonders. And he brought us into this place and has given us this land, even a land that flows with milk and honey, a place of prosperity. But if you don't understand what to do with what he's giving you, guess what? You will continue to hold on to it and you'll continue to be greedy and not share. See, when we are all scattered out, it's really, but listen, now let me show you this. Verse 10, and now behold, I have brought the Bekurim, first fruit of the land, which you, O Yahuwah, have given me. And you shall set it before Yahuwah your power, and worship before Yahuwah your power. And you shall rejoice in every great thing which Yahuwah your power has given unto you. And you and the Levite and the foreigner that is among you. Now I want to show you something right here, where this is where problems have come in over the ages. Because you have to understand, once again, the setup for sustainability was created in the writings of Deuteronomy to sustain us as a people, so that nobody would go lacking and nobody would be without. But there was an issue that came about. But let me show you once again. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Now look at what he says. He's brought the first fruit. Now we know we're not in the land and we don't have first fruits. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
But the principle still remains. You don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It is a principle that should be burned in our hearts and minds to be about helping one another. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
That's important. Now listen to what he says. And you shall set it before Yahuwah your power and worship before Yahuwah. But this is all of it is great, but I want to show you. Now, in verse 12, when you have made an end of tithing all the tithes of your increase, the third year. Listen to what he says, which is the year of tithing, and have given it unto the Levites, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within your gates and be filled. Code of conduct. Government has no reason or has no authority or place to be taking care of our, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
That is our responsibility. But how are we able to do this when we're so spread out and so distant? We're supposed to gather together.
That's right.
That's our code room house. And they will live together and they will build. And guess what? From there, they will buy their businesses and they will expand. Now, understand, I'm not foolish and neither am I ignorant. I understand the reason they're able to do what they do, because they come in getting different benefits from the government that we will be denied.
That's right.
We'll be denied it. But they get it. But you have to understand the mindset is that while we're doing this, we're going to help one another. If that means us living in one apartment or one trailer, and it's all of us. If we got to sleep in cars and be around that place, and we secure ourselves until we're able to get bigger and expand, then that's what we're going to do. With us as a people, that's the mindset. That's the mindset we should have. So that none of our those that are without will have to go without. Now understand the setup with this is that in the third year you tithe. Let me show you. Let me go down here. Once again, we're talking about code of conduct for sustainability. There was a 3-yearly tithe. The 3 years are counted from the seventh year when the land lay fallow. This was also known as the poor people's tithe. Also mentioned in Deuteronomy 14 and 28. Why is this so important for us as a people to understand? Because in Yasharal, and I'm talking about the true people, there should never be poor people.
No.
If we just follow the code of conduct. I understand that we've been far removed from our truth. I understand that even Christianity has taken it and has abused it, because Christianity doesn't understand that this was the code of conduct for Yasharal. Never was the Levites supposedly the only ones to receive tithe. And remember, they didn't receive it all the time. It was only in the third year of tithing when the land laid fallow in those 7 years, or within those 7 years. Now, the problem comes in is that you had greedy folks that altered the writings and began to take the tithe all for themselves. So you have the widows, you have the stranger, you have the fatherless that went without, because the code of conduct had been changed. Are you following me?
No.
That's why in Malachi, he rebukes them because of their code that were dug up and removed. And in order for us to truly sustain and be a sustainable people, we got to go back to our roots. We have to go back. See, it's not just us saying, I'm a Torah believer and I keep the Sabbath feast and I keep the Sabbath rest. You also have to conduct yourself wisely when it comes to those that have not. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Why is this important? It is so important for us as a people. But you got to understand too, also the responsibility and the accountability. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Is upon those that have it and upon those that need it. Let's look at it again. He said, those that are within your walls. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
If you're not inside the walls, then you do not qualify for help. Are you hearing me? It's a hard pill for many to swallow because you want something for nothing. And that is the wrong mentality. Are y'all hearing me? Wrong mentality. All right, let me go back up here. Let me show you where it says. Now listen what he says in verse 12. In verse 12, it says, when you have made an end of tithing, all the tithes of your increase the third year, which is the year of tithing, and have given it unto the Levites, they have their portion, and have given it unto the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within what?
Your gates.
Say it again.
Your gates.
Say it again.
Your
Your
gates.
gates.
Your gates, meaning our gates. That mean they were a part of that community. And that is what made them, that community, obligated because they were a part of the community. You have to obligate yourself somewhere. You can't just go out here and say, I want this because I'm Yasharal. You can say, I want this from another bank, but you're not a part of that bank. So you do not qualify to get assistance.
God.
Code of conduct. Are y'all hearing me?
Yeah.
Very important. Now listen what he says. That they may eat within your gates and be filled. Until that is reached, we have still not fulfilled our responsibility and obligation as a people.
God.
Sustainability and our code of conduct. If we don't have a code of conduct that we follow, we're following everybody else's conduct, which constantly keeps us outside of the Abba. Are you hearing me?
God.
All right. Now, this is important. Now, somebody says, we don't tithe like that anymore. We don't, but we need to. We need to get back into that way. Are you hearing me?
God.
We need to get back into that lifestyle. All right. Now, let's see what else it says. Then you shall say before Yahuwah your power, I have brought away the set apart, listen at this, set apart things out of my bed, which is my house. And also have given them unto the Levite and unto the foreigner, to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all your commandments, which you have commanded me. I have not transgressed your commandments, neither have I forgotten them. I've eaten anything, listen what he says, while in mourning. They didn't take it and say, well, I can't give because it's a time of mourning. And so I can't depart with this. Neither have I removed anything while I was unclean, nor offered anything of it to the dead. But I have obeyed the voice of Yahuwah my power and have done according to all that have commanded me. Now, verse 15, listen what he says. Now, this is the punchline. The punchline is now the request. Until we have done these things, we are not in a position to ask the Abba to Baruch anything that we have.
Right.
Because we're not in position. It's like somebody to give you some water and you have no cup or glass to catch it with.
God.
So we are not entitled to these things until we get ourselves in position and uphold that code of conduct. Are y'all following me?
God.
Yes, it seems far removed and it seems like it's a hard thing because all of our years we've always been taught. And if you look at people like Creflo Dollar and you look at people like Benny Hinn and some of the rest of them, what's that other man? Kenneth Copeland and some of the rest of them, even those that are in the Christian arena, and even those that may not be as lucrative or be well known like them, even what I'm trying to think, the local. Thank you. Local preachers that still request tithes and say that the tithes belong to the Levites. The tithes in that tithing belong to those that did not have. And it helped and it maintained community so that the people were not wanting. Our people never had to go and ask anybody for anything until, listen to what I say, until we started following in the conduct of those that we were around. We have our own way to sustain our people. But until we get back, we will not. Now listen what he says. This is why he could ask for that Baruch, because he was walking in compliance to everything that the Abba had given him to do. In verse 15, he says, look down from your set apart dwelling from Shemayim, which is heaven, and Baruch your people, Yasharal. He didn't just say himself. And the land which you have given us, as you swore unto our Abbas, a land that flows with milk and honey. Milk and honey represents prosperity. It represents a expansion for the children of Yasharal. Now, mind you, they had just come out of Mitzrayim, harsh labor. They had come out of this way of life, but now the Abba was teaching them sustainability and the code of conduct. When we fail to do those things, once again, it is like asking for something and you are not in a position to receive it. Or we are not in a position to receive it. Now let's read. Let me get my readers. Let's read verse 16 to 19, please. All right, thank you.
Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 16 to which verse?
19. Thank you.
And it is so.
Mhm.
Yahuwah your power commands you this day to follow these decrees and laws. Carefully observe them with all your heart and with all your soul.
Mhm.
You have declared this day that and Yahuwah has declared this day that you are his possession as he promised, and that you are to keep all his commands. He has declared that he will set you in praise, fame, and honor high above all the nations. Promise. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, let's go back to this because this is one of the verses that I would always quote because I hobbit. But I've come to understand in order to have this and truly be able to present it, we've got to be living by it.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
You can't say you're a millionaire and you living off of $4,000 a month. Are you hearing me? Because you know how much your income is. Millionaires don't count their money. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because they know what they have. They're not running around counting their money saying, I got 5 million this or that. They know what they have. And so they don't live according to an income status like many of us do.
God.
They live according to what they want and how they want because they know they can what? Afford it. Because they're millionaires. Only those of us that have income or status-wise understand, okay, wait a minute, let me budget. Because if I don't budget, now understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people that are millionaires don't budget, but they don't budget like we do. Are y'all hearing me? They do not budget like we do. That's why they do what they're able to do. Now, I want to show you something. Once again, listen what he says. This Yom or this day, Yahuwah your power has commanded you to do these statutes and judgments. You shall therefore guard and do them with all your heart and with all your soul. What was that? To make sure that everybody in our community was sustained. Was sustained. Was sustained. Every person, whether you were a widow, you had something. If you were the fatherless, you had something. Are you hearing me? If you are a stranger, meaning us, you had something.
That's right.
And you didn't have to go outside of the gates because everything we needed was inside of those gates. Once again, code of conduct and our sustainability. If we refuse to accept this code of conduct, anybody has ever seen, what is the mission with Tom Cruise in it? What is it?
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. He said, if you at this point, this mission or that system or thing they use to give the mission to the person, said, if you refuse, then this mission shall self-destruct. If we refuse, guess what's going to happen? Many of us are going to continue to self-destruct.
God.
Why do you think many of our people sell drugs? Why do you think many of our people do what they do? Because they're trying to live. They're just trying to make a living. They're trying to eat. They ain't trying to go out there and buy no clothes. They're trying to eat. And if we don't have that in place to give to our people, then how are we going to tell people out on the street, you the people, you need to come in? And they're looking at you like, until you can feed me, you can keep on moving. Because until you can promise me that if I turn to this way of life, I'm going to be sustained, then I'm not going to do it. Because it's more. You got to understand something. Sustainability means that we're going to be sustained physically, naturally, socially, economically. You are sustained. We are sustained. I'm not going to promise you a meal and then I can't give it to you. I'm not going to promise you spirituality and this way of life and then you still can't eat. That's a conflict. And in order to get these things resolved, once again, y'all, it is important that we understand if we're going to make it, we got to get the playing field in our possession, and we got to be in a position to make these things happen. And when you start talking about this, the first thing people start talking about, okay, well, how much money do we need? We ain't even talking about money, because unless you got people with a mindset, it don't matter if we have trillions of dollars. You put all of us in one place and the mindset ain't right, we'll have a mess. We won't have a community. We will actually have a, anybody ever seen Escape from Alcatraz? Or they had taken New York and made New York a prison, the whole state a prison. And people didn't like it because it was horrible. We're not trying to create that. We're trying to create an environment that our people can truly understand and learn while we're waiting. While we're waiting for the return of our Mashiach. Are you hearing me? This is important. Now listen what he says here in verse 18. And Yahuwah has declared to you this day to be his treasured possession, as he has promised you, and that you should guard all his commands, and to elevate you above all nations which he has made, in praise and in name and in esteem, and that you may be a set apart people unto Yahuwah your power, as he has spoken. Those things have to be in place in order for us to be recognized as a treasured people. We can't be recognized as a treasured people if we're not doing the things that make us a treasure. A treasure unto him is taking care of those that are less fortunate. Listen to what I'm saying. As a people, not just those that are less fortunate, but teaching our people how to live according to his instructions. Because it's important that we understand. We're not trying to just grab people and grab people and grab people, and that's it. No, there is a code of conduct that comes with this life. And until that is fulfilled, nobody knows who we are. That's why they're calling us angry Hebrews. That's why they're running around here. We got all kinds of names. We got camps, angry Hebrews. We got this, we got that. But nobody's calling us that treasured people. Because until we show forth the characteristics of a treasured people, we are still just a people struggling in the eyes of our oppressors and sustainability and the code of conduct. It is important, especially now. I mean, you can run if you want to, but if you're really looking at the news, we saw, was it in Wisconsin? There was a melanated teacher who died in the emergency room because they wouldn't wait on her. If you've been watching the news, then you see and you know. I think it was a couple of months ago. All these bills that Trump is passing, that all the country with black people, melanated people, can only stay for a little while, and that if you stay too long, your visa will be revoked. China and all the rest of these countries, they can come over here and do whatever they want, but we can't. Are y'all following me? If you're looking and watching the news, then you see that nobody is talking about doing anything for people, our people. Are you hearing me? The Hebrew people, known as the black folks. Nobody is talking about bringing, and I'm not just talking about reparations, I'm talking about repairing. How many people are talking about it? No, let's ask this question. How many people are dealing with, the bottom line is, how come nobody will touch it? Is anybody asking, why is it that nobody will speak up for us as a people?
Right.
Is anybody asking, has the gag order been lifted concerning our people? When we're not talking about these things, y'all, then we're going round and round in circles.
That's right.
We already know. Nobody can speak up for us. We already know that nobody can touch our situation until we get in line and walk in truth. Right. We already know this. But there are many that are blinded to the truth and don't understand that chapter 28 of Deuteronomy speaks of the things that would happen to us. And if it's one or two things, either you're just blinded or you just don't want to accept truth. We're the only ones that can get gunned down in the street and nothing is said about it.
God.
We're the only ones where this country will execute an innocent man in spite of evidence being shown that this man is innocent. So what do you do You still want to remain out there and say, well, we can get this if we just get the right candidate? Voting is retarded. That's what I said. It's ridiculous. It's foolish.
Yes.
Because people want to tell you our ancestors died to vote. They didn't die to vote. They died because of the heinous, crazy oppressors. That's why they died. Who are you going to vote for? I'm going to vote for the man who just took all my land, who just slaughtered all my kinfolk, and I'm going to vote for him? That's ridiculous. Wake up, people. There is no person to vote for. That is why he is pushing us, so that we will open our eyes to realize nobody can deal with our situation.
That's right.
But us. Through repentance and saying whatever it takes. I'm trying to get back to you, Abba Yahuwah. I'm chasing after you no matter what I have to do.
God.
I'm chasing after you. And until we get that mindset, we'll continue to be delusional. We'll continue to be, like you said, crazy in the mind. Even the writings tell us this in chapter 28. How is it we could see that nobody is dealing with these issues, but yet people still say, go and vote because it's your duty. And then when you say, no, our responsibility and obligation is to the Abba. And if we would all just turn and go back to him, then now you looked at as being a fool or crazy. But you'll tell me I need to vote. Take the lesser of the evil. Why not don't take either one. Take Torah truth. And turn back to him and let him resolve the issues that are going on with us. When it's not safe to go to a hospital, what else, y'all? What else does it take? You're thinking you're going to get help and you sit in there for hours and die. There's a problem.
That's right.
And we as a people, if we don't stop playing these games and acting like nothing is going on, y'all, we ain't seen the last of it. Excuse me. There is more to come. But the sustainability and our code of conduct lies in our obedience and following his writings that he's already put out for us.
That's right.
All right, let's go to chapter 27. And let's read 7 verses, please. Beginning at verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1 through 7.
Mhm.
And it reads, Then Moshe and Yasharal's elders commanded the people, keep all the commandments that I am giving you right now. The same day you cross the Jordan River to enter into the land Yahuwah your power has given you. Set up large stones and cover them with plaster. Once you have crossed over, write on the stones all the words of the instruction, because you will have entered the land Yahuwah your power is giving to you.
Mhm.
A land full of milk and honey, exactly as your ancestors' power promised you. Once you have crossed over the Jordan River, set up these stones that I'm telling you about right now on Mount Ebal. Cover them with plaster and build an altar, therefore Yahuwah your power. An altar of stones that haven't been cut from iron tools. You must build Yahuwah's altar with uncut stones. Then offer up on that altar entirely burnt sacrifices to Yahuwah your power. Offer a well-being sacrifices and eat them there, celebrating Yahuwah your power's presence. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at chapter 27. Once again, code of conduct. The purpose of this is for us to look at and see that there is a code of conduct that we are supposed to have as a people. It does not matter if we're not in the land, we still are responsible for that code of conduct. And because it was lost over the years of oppression and then coming out of slavery, this is another thing, coming out of slavery and not turning back, first of all, to the principles, standard that was given, our people just began to build. They began to build, they began to get that sense of freedom. And now that I'm free, I'm not responsible and obligated for anybody but myself. That is wrong. That's where the error came in. Because the only thing our people did was build, and they sustained themselves, but they kept the Abba out of it. Once you remove him, watch this, and he moves back, You feel the blunt of it. You feel the pain, the sting. You feel it all.
God.
Because there is nothing to protect you anymore.
That's right.
And that's what our people did. The summer of 1919, we only hear about Oklahoma, but there was something like 300 plus, I'm willing to say 500 communities with nothing but melanated Black people that had just come out of slavery, have built their monuments, have built stores and homes, and have made it. So they thought. Remember, he said in Deuteronomy chapter 6, do not forget me. When you have gotten your possessions and you have made a way of life, our people forgot him, and he showed them, since you forgot me, I will forget you. Now, let us not repeat the same thing. Let us not make another night into the city to now have to work for people. I'm telling you, in this book, it talks about it, having to work for people, and then they don't pay you money, they pay you rotten meat. And some of us don't believe that it'll get that bad again. You go to the store and people treat you because of the color of your skin like you're dirt. And you know what we'll do? We'll still sit up there and pay them our money. We will go in places where we're treated. Here in South Carolina, in Lexington, they have a store that's called the European Market. They only cater to European people. I don't know what y'all may think about that, but I have major issues, but they can do living.
God.
Show this system, I don't need you. I have a system, and that system is the Torah of Abba Yahuwah. It is important that we open our eyes. But listen what was done. And once again, code of conduct. Moshe with the elders of Yasharal commanded the people, saying, guard all the commandments which I command you this day. He said, listen, guard them. Why do you think we have to guard what he's given unto us? Because they want to take it away from us. Are y'all hearing me?
God.
They want to take it away from us. And it shall be on the day when you pass over Jordan or Yarden unto the land which Yahuwah your power gives you, that you shall erect together great stones and plaster them with plaster. And you shall write upon them all the words of this Torah. So you got to understand, we ain't talking about no little stones like this. We're talking about something big enough that it had to be stuck together so that when you walk by it, you could read all the Torah on it.
That's right.
You could read it. Now, if you all know, like back in the, in the early 2000s, I believe, when they were fighting to get the 10 Commandments out of the courthouse, when they were fighting to remove the 10 Commandments that this country was supposed to be built upon. They fought to take them out of there, and they got them removed. They removed them because it set a standard. Now, you got to understand something. If they fought to get them removed, it's because they didn't want us to recognize and to know, because they knew there was coming a time such as this, that we as the people would begin to open up our eyes and say, look, that's our code of conduct. Plus, and because you have it up. Now, understand the law. If it is in writing, it has to be upheld. It has to be upheld. Now, I want to take a little sidebar real quick. When you go into Walmart, I hate shopping there, but until I'm able to get what I need and have the stuff, there's some places you have to. I don't like going there. No, I don't. But there are some things in some places, even though you don't want to go there, you end up having to go because you can't find it anywhere else.
That's right.
But the thing of it is that when you get ready to go out, if you have large merchandise and you have stuff that does not fit in a bag, the first thing they want to do is hold you up and police you and make you show a receipt. You have to understand law and the color of law. Well, the color of law says because they tell you, I need it, you must stop. But law says, unless it's in writing, I don't have to stop. And I never stop because, number one, I don't have a membership with them. Are you hearing me? It is a public place. And I can go in and buy my stuff. And if I choose not to put it in a bag, I don't have to. Are you hearing me?
God.
Wisdom. But y'all, they're enforcing these things upon us as a people. So when you're about to go out the store, if you have something that's not in your bag or in a bag, the first thing they want to do is get a machine and start checking everything in your bug. You start thinking, but I thought you was only supposed to check that thing right there. Because when you give them the right to check it, they're going to check everything.
Right.
They're going to check everything. So it is important that we understand our code of conduct. What is it that we need to do? How do we, how are we to get these things? This is where sacrifice comes in. And this is where you and I have to make the decision. Are we going to go with what is presented, or are we going to go with what the writings have given unto us? One or two things I've said, and I will continue to say it. You're going to be forced to do right, or you're going to get yourself in a compromising position where you're going to be forced to do wrong. Because we have a choice. You have a choice now. I have a choice. There's coming a time you may not have a choice. Are y'all following me? Very important. Now, once again, these were to be put in place so that when people came in, they would be able to read and know what the conduct, the code of conduct, and the standard was for the people of Yahshua. We don't have that anymore. Are y'all hearing me? That's why it is important that we recover it and we use it and we do what we're supposed to. Now, this is what he says in verse 3. And you shall write upon them all the words of this Torah, when you have passed over, and that you may go in unto the land which Yahuwah your power gives you, your Abbas has promised you. Now, once again, many will fight and say, but we're not in that land. No, we're not. But when you're in school, you haven't graduated either. You're in a process or a state of learning. We're here and we are still learning. Does that mean our code of conduct changes? Absolutely not. It is a time to recover that conduct, that we may live to please him and not man and not our flesh. Are y'all hearing me? Yes. All right. Verse 4, last third. And there shall you build an altar unto Yahuwah your power, an altar of stones. You shall not lift up any iron tool upon them. You shall build the altar of Yahuwah your power of whole stones. Excuse me. And you shall offer burnt offerings thereon unto Yahuwah your power. Now, verse 6, I want to clarify. We're not talking about erecting altars to burn animals on. Because Yahuwah paid the price and he is the sacrifice. Perfect, without spot or blemish. And he did it. But the purpose of this is to get us to see the code of conduct that is to be presented. This is our lifestyle. It is our culture. And along with our culture, there is a conduct, a code of conduct that must follow. Are y'all following me? Now, verse 8, he says, and you shall write upon the stones all the words of this Torah very plainly. In other words, he is saying, just put it as it is. It's simple enough that even a fool cannot err. Unless you say within your heart, there is no power. And I'm not accountable to
craftsman, and puts it in a secret place, and all the people shall answer and say, and it is so.
And it is so. Now look at, once again, they're giving the instructions for the code of conduct. What is acceptable and what is not acceptable. The reason we struggle with this right here is because we have too many people that are novices and that have not been appointed to give instructions. So now you got half that's doing this and half that's doing that, which is causing a major meltdown for us as a people. This is causing a problem. He designated, you see as I see, you're reading as I've read it, I pray. He does automatically, people throw you up and say you are a leader. Get this twisted, what I'm about to say. Many of them are fresh and they're green, have not put any prayer in, have not fasted, have not prayed. You are just chosen because you are a male. That is wrong. Because if that's the case, then he would call all men to the forefront to do this.
That's right.
But he only called the designated ones. Are y'all following me? You get to a point that you ought to be tired of people that are just saying stuff just because of their gender. They're not seasoned. They have no experience. And they're just speaking because they've been thrown up there because they are men. Right. When will we learn? The Ruach HaKodesh will speak and will give those words to whom she desires, whom the Abba has given Jesus as an easy target. We are supposed to have one code of conduct, not many. Not many. When you have these things, this causes a major problem. And we're seeing that problem now. This is why you got to once people fighting over polygamy. They're fighting over all kinds of stuff. Stuff that right now we need to be focusing on. Hey, when what is it when STF? SHTF. And y'all know what that acronym stands for. What are we going to do? What are you going to do? Are you prepared or are you preparing? Or are you waiting for it to happen and then say, hey, let me in. I'm ready. This is going to be just like Noah's Ark. You don't come in, you don't get in. Because see, you got people that'll wait to the last minute and try to get in and then try to throw you out.
That's right.
So it is time to prepare. Don't help us, Abba Yahuwah. 19, cursed be he that perverts judgment of the foreigner, fatherless, and widow, and all the people should say, and it is so. Now, this is why we got to learn what things need to be changed in order for us to do better and have better. Are y'all really ready to give up them apartments that it took you almost a century to get? And you have to ride in horses, and you got to walk where you got to go, or you got to, ride a donkey or whatever. You can't have the latest things or follow the trends. Are you ready to give that stuff up? Because I don't see nowhere where he said he'll multiply your houses and multiply your cars. I don't see nowhere where he said he'll have a mechanic that'll stick with you to take care of your cars, your vehicles. I don't see nothing in there that says that. But what I do see is that he will bring increase, animals, and into what you have living off the land. Are y'all hearing me? That's the challenge that many of us are going to face. Once again, either you're going to be pushed off or you're going to willfully let it go and find a place to begin to build. Because he says, stand in that way and look. Because where does our true happiness come from? Content and truly in love with the Abba and his instructions for my life. But where does your happiness come from? Does your happiness come from being able to go into a condo or to a big old 8-bedroom house and you paying maybe a mortgage of $2,000 to $3,000 and you think you're doing something because you can pay that? You're paying a mortgage because you can't afford it. You're paying a car note because you can't afford it. It's the truth. Are you hearing me? It is time that we make decisions. Are you tired of sending your children to school and every time they come back it's something different because of the changes, never to benefit you? Are you tired of it? Many of us homeschool. We homeschool our children. But are you tired of having to say, I don't want to send my children to school because the system? And then when I homeschool my children, I want my children to be around other homeschoolers. Are y'all hearing me? Community, sustainability, code of conduct. Are you hearing me? Now, listen what he says in verse 20. Cursed be he that lies with his father's wife, because he uncovers